I think we all saw this coming. Michael Vick is the head coach at Norfolk State, and now the Spartans have upped their season ticket prices, but their reasoning for doing so is not all the way selfish. Oh, yeah, it's Locked On HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darrion Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current site expert at Who Dat Dish and contributing writer at USA Today's Saints Wire. Thank you for going on this journey with me. Make it Locked On HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. Just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Starts with an S and ends with an S. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and new customers can go to FanDuel and get $200 back in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. We wrap up today's episode by looking at the HBCU players who participated in the MLB Combine earlier this week. In segment 2, Prairie View A&M has the top recruiting class in the SWAC. How did they build this class, both through the efforts of Tremaine Jackson and literally how did they compile this class? But in segment 1, this is a very unexpected move, which is why I'll be honest with you, I didn't blink twice the first time I saw this story. Michael Vick is the head coach at Norfolk State. Norfolk State has higher season ticket prices. On the surface, that's kind of a non-story. I'll be honest with you. That's something that we all expected to happen. It's definitely not a lead topic. So the first time I saw it, I said, okay. Then I saw it again, and I may have just had more reason to click it this time and just read about it. Or maybe I was just inquisitive on how much the season tickets rose. If in case you were wondering, it went from 110 to 200. You nearly doubled it. I'm not a big finance guy, so I can't tell you if that increase is normal, but I will tell you an increase in general was expected. When I click and I look at it and I say, oh, okay, they're doing this on the surface for good reason to pay their players. At one point, you have to be able to compete in the NCAA. You have to be able to compete whether you're on the FBS level with P4 trying to get into the college football playoffs, or if you're trying to be a G5 team competing for that one spot that you're going to get, or maybe a G5 team trying to compete to make noise in a bowl game that no one really expects you to win. Like, it doesn't matter if you're on the FBS, FCS, you have to compete when it comes to NIL. And what Norfolk State is doing as far as raising the ticket prices, of course, is going to benefit the school. That's why I say it's partially, right? It's not all the way selfish. It's going to benefit the school. But at the same time, with the new House versus NCAA settlement that they did opt into, Norfolk State is going to have part of their revenue go to their players. So with that being the case, the higher that ticket prices are, the more people who buy these higher ticket prices, the more money they have to divvy up amongst their players. This is actually pretty solid, okay? I want to point this out because my first thought was, okay, we saw this coming. My second thought was, though we saw it coming, it did not have to happen. Before I opened up that article and I saw the revenue sharing side of it, because that's not where my brain went. This is still fairly new. This is still fairly fresh. So give myself some time for my instincts to kick into House versus NCAA settlement rules. My first thought after we expected this was, well, Delaware State didn't do it. And I applaud Delaware State for not upping the prices. This is not me criticizing Norfolk State. This is just two different sides of the coin, because Delaware State actually dropped their prices. The reason I applaud them, the reason that I praise this decision is it is a risk. The idea that more people will want to come to your game because Deshaun Jackson is the head coach is, I think that's a strong conviction. It's one that you should be able to stand on. The idea that you'll get more season tickets is one that you can stand on. But the fact that you drop the prices are you going to get more sales, enough more sales, to even out what you would have got if you kept it at that same price? This is not the topic or the story for the day, so I'll leave that alone. At one point, we talked about it. But the fact that they did it in general, knowing more people are going to want to come to see Deshaun Jackson, Delaware State made it easier for people to see Deshaun Jackson. That is a 180 from what it is that Michael Vick did, Norfolk State did with Michael Vick. I don't think that they tried to make it more difficult to do by upping the price. I think they followed what is typical business protocol. You have a bigger draw, more people will pay a premium, let's say that, to come see it. It's like homecoming. Homecoming, you can charge more for homecoming because everybody's going to want to see it. Listen, I try to go get tickets. You go look at whatever it is. It could be Dallas Wings, right? Because I want to go to a Wings game. Shout out my girl P5. But you can go see, they're playing the Fever. It's like $120. I think they play Atlanta the game before, maybe 2-3 days prior. It's $30. They move the Fever game to the AAC because they understand there's a higher demand. Yes, more people are going to want to come see Paige Beckers versus Caitlin Clark than whoever's on the Atlanta Dream. No disrespect. I'm not the biggest WNBA savant, so forgive me. People are going to want to come see this game. We can charge more, and they will still buy it at a higher price. That's what Norfolk State is doing. That's what most businesses would do. So I just applaud Delaware State without criticism towards Norfolk State, okay? But this was expected. Nearly doubling the price does feel unexpected a little bit. I think that I would have seen it go from 180 or 110 to about 160, 170, a $50 to $60 increase is probably what I would have projected. But like I said before, I'm not the biggest finance guy. I should call a friend of mine. I'll amend that. I won't change it in here, but I'll call one of my finance people. I got a couple of friends that work in finance, and I'll explain what's going on. And I'll ask them, is this $90 increase typical? Is this a little steep? I'll try to put that in the comments. I'll remind myself to put that in the comments right now, actually. But anywho, I put an hour. Yeah, there we go. 2 hours later, I'll put it in there. But like I said, the up in price has a collateral benefit. I'm not going to sit here and act like they're doing it only for their players, or that doing it for their players doesn't also serve them. But at some point, we must acknowledge the game is the game. You have to play it without being critical. I don't like to criticize things that deal with money and financing people, paying people. I don't like criticizing that in this realm. I really don't, because we can call it selfish, and call it a money grab all you want. We can say, they're just using the player. Man, everybody's getting used in some way. I'll be honest with you. Everybody's getting used. Everybody is playing a role. That's important. But I'm getting too deep on the topic. Anyway, I really am intrigued. I'm intrigued to see if more people buy season tickets. I'm intrigued to see if, in the long run, the increase from 110 to 200 pays off. Is this something that comes down next year? Is this something that is feasible to do yearly? $200, I think you get about 5 home games this year. I think you'll get 5 home games this year. But at the end of the day, you are going to try this. People are going to pay to come see Michael Vick. More people are coming to see Michael Vick. There maybe won't be as many season tickets, but I can guarantee you there'll be a lot more individual tickets bought, because this is a main attraction. People are going to fly out, drive out to Philadelphia to watch Deshaun Jackson versus Michael Vick. This was, right now, it feels like solid business and a solid way to navigate around the NIL deals. This is something that Dr. Melody Webb, the AD at Norfolk State, said. Our decision to join the NCAA's revenue sharing plan emphasizes Norfolk State's unwavering commitment to our student athletes. He says, she says, as we join other institutions in adopting this evolving revenue sharing model, we remain committed to navigating this journey for the benefit of our student athletes. We are resolute in our goal to not only stay competitive, but also achieve championship success. It all goes together. You are probably not going to achieve championship success unless you begin to get close to mastering the NIL. This is one way that they're going to be able to do it. So revenue sharing is a big deal. We're going to see more teams do things like this. I know the state of Louisiana recently passed some sort of tax rule that's going to go back to schools in sports betting, I think it is. So in sports betting tax, it is going to go back to the school all around the state. Anyway, speaking of all around the state, that's exactly where PV is picking talent from. And not just within Texas, they're going everywhere. Let's break down how they compiled this class and what makes up their class as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and FanDuel is the best place to make a little bit of extra cash if you think you know sports. I know everybody says they know sports. Everybody thinks they know what's going on, but at the same time, who's really putting their money where their mouth is? Who's really saying, I know so much that I think Coastal Carolina is going to do this in the College World Series, or I think LSU is going to do this in the College World Series? That's what it's all about, guys. It's the biggest moment in college baseball. We'll talk about this a little bit later as far as the sport goes. Or maybe you want to talk about Game 7 in the NBA Finals. It doesn't get much bigger than that. We could have the College World Series and the NBA Finals both end on Sunday. Do you want to make some money or not? We could have the College World Series and the NBA Finals end on Sunday. Do you want to make some money or not? It's just that simple. If the answer is yes, go to FanDuel. If you're new, put down a $5 bet that wins, you'll get $200 back in bonus bets. It's just that simple. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day. For your second listen, make sure you're checking out Locked On NBA and Locked On LSU. Like I said, the two biggest times in two of the bigger sports you can check out with those podcasts. But speaking of top times, what we're doing right now is trying to compile the best recruiting classes that we possibly can so that we can go into next year. That's where we are in college football. We're in that point of recruiting and cultivating a team in the offseason, all of that. Prairie View A&M has done a pretty good job of doing it. Prairie View A&M has the top recruiting class in the SWAC per 24/7 Sports. And listen, I've been extremely impressed, yet unsurprised. Impressed, yet unsurprised with what it is that Tremaine Jackson has been doing. Actually, I'll take that back a little bit. I'm unsurprised with the efficiency that he's recruited, but I am a tad bit surprised in the way that he has gone about marketing his recruitment. Everything that he's doing on social media. I remember reading a story from when he was, I believe it was at Valdosta, or maybe it was the stop before that, where Jackson wasn't with the flair. He didn't want his players wearing chains, right? And maybe it was deeper than that. But to me, it was about flair because I wasn't in that room. And it was like a guy who seemed very bread and butter, very black and white, very suit and tie. And we'll get to suit and tie in a minute. But what he did to me with marketing was so innovative. The way he talked about it on social media, the way he marketed it on social media was extremely innovative. And I always felt that was going to pull more people in. We'll never know exactly how right I was on that topic. But what I can say is the people that he was able to bring in to Prairie View A&M, he was able to compile the best recruiting class in the SWAC. And going into your first year, leading a team like PV, this is good. I'm not shocked. A coach with his track record, PV with the facilities that they have, the area that they're in, PV could be scary. I'll be honest with you. Prairie View A&M could be a scary team in 2025. But it's not just PV has money, they have a good coach. Because I want to break down who or what this class consists of, but I want to break down how he compiled it. And when I say that latter point, I mean, who is Tremaine Jackson? What are the attributes that he has shown publicly that show why so many people are committing to him and committing to the Panthers? So first off, he said we got to get the whole team suits. We have to look a certain way. We have to prepare our student athletes to be adults in the workforce, because so often when we talk about suits, and excuse me as I put a little bit of my own personal thing in, but when we talk about suits, it's simply just, all right, we want to look a certain way. No, it's not. It's not just We want to look away before going into the game. We want to be uniform. It's not just that. It's about, for me, who was never a person who was on a team, to have suits and walk in. Like, it was about showing a level of professionalism that expands beyond the football field. It prepares you different. You got to know how to interview. And part of just, I ain't gonna say knowing how to interview is wearing a suit, but part of understanding that process is understanding the attire that goes with that process. And listen, I think that us as, I don't know what you do for a living, right? But I know for me, the aim is to be on television, right? The aim is to be on TV. And though I love my white tee that I'm wearing right now, though I love my dog tag that I got from the old lady, it's beautiful, thank you. But as much as I love those things, I'm probably not walking into an interview with fill in the blank company wearing this right now. I like this fit. I like it a lot. But it's not what I'm walking into the interview with, because I understand how to play the game. And part of having a suit is understanding how it feels to be in one. I ain't gonna say it can change you, but it certainly makes you walk a little different. It certainly has your confidence higher. I can speak for myself when I say that. When you feeling good, what they say, look good, feel good, play good, that goes for any form of life. So this is something that Coach Jackson said he wanted to do. He said, this is Division I football. Our kids deserve to have a Division I experience. And we can't say we care about them after football if we're not helping them with a suit for the interview, making them look more professional than they are. That's just a part of us being a real life program, like giving them certain experiences. Everybody talks about tying a tie. You can go on YouTube and learn how to tie a tie, but you can't go on YouTube and measure yourself. I think that this was a great experience, having them get their suits fitted so that they not only look away when going into the game, but also that they understand the importance of it moving forward in life. It's this type of care that I undoubtedly believe he carries over into private conversations. Undoubtedly. This is a situation where Jackson has laid out rules publicly that people maybe didn't love and whatnot. But at the same time, he's so much bigger than those 12 or however many rules it was that he posted on Twitter. I think that it was really overblown. I didn't love some of the rules, but in general, I thought that they were all well-intentioned and I could vibe with them to a certain degree. But anyway, you take those rules out and you look at everything else that he's done. You look at the way that he's marketed these recruits. You look at the way that he has cared for his players with getting them suits. You look for the way that he has invested in the community with multiple events being held at PV. I think he's done a really good job. And then you look at how he compiled this team. He has 21 recruits. One came from high school. He has 21 recruits, and 20 of them are transfer players. Some from big schools, most from the FBS ranks. I would say the large majority of that FBS rank is made up of G5 players as opposed to P4 players. And to me, it doesn't matter. But I know for a lot of people, they look at the school you came from, and that's kind of how they judge you, which I can't completely fault. I would just say, don't make that your end all be all. It don't work like that. It does not work like that. The guy who came from the Big Ten school, the ACC school, does not mean that he is going to be better than the guy at the AAC school or the guy from the MAC or the guy from the Mountain West. It does not mean that. I just want to give a little heads up. All right. But he has mostly G5 transfers that are coming in. What it tells me is when you get 20 of your 21 recruits from the transfer portal, you're coming in to compete immediately. And I can't say that I blame them. I think that the SWAC West is wide open. I understand that Southern came in and they got some players that are coming back, but I just don't feel like they have a stranglehold on that division. Somebody else could easily come in and win that SWAC West. Is it going to be PV? These are questions that will be answered later. These are questions that we won't know. But as we stand here right now, it does feel as if Tremaine Jackson is going on a full court press. It does feel as if Tremaine Jackson is saying, we're going for that crown this year. Not every first-year coach is going to take that approach. But I think that for Tremaine Jackson, where he is and everything that's setting up right now, it feels appropriate. It would not be shocking to me if we get to the end of November and we're talking about PV needing a game here or a game there in order to win the SWAC West and punch their ticket to the SWAC championship. As we push forward, speaking of people who have made it up high, nearly to the pinnacle of their sport, we're talking about 3 HBCU players who have been invited to the MLB Combine. Let's talk about those trios, or that trio, as we continue with Locked On HBCU. As we're wrapping up today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day, making it all the way to segment 3, and I thank you 2 times for that. Thank you. Thank you. Listen, we have 3 HBCU players who are able to make it to the MLB Combine. Brody Popple, Juan Cruz, and then also Cardell Thibodeau, representing FAMU, Alabama State, and Southern, respectfully. The MLB Combine is a great look for HBCU athletes. It allows anybody who's draft eligible to come in. I think it was 322 invited, and all of them accepted. I wasn't able to find much notes about how each of those 3 performed. However, I was able to see that 322 were invited, 322 accepted. So I am aware of what they were able to do, or the fact that they were able to showcase their talents at the MLB Combine. This was from the 17th to the 19th. So this was from, was that Wednesday? Or it's Tuesday to Thursday that this happened. It's already done now that I'm speaking to you, but the moment allows them to be up close and personal with some of the top athletes. And at the end of the day, you want to be in that mix. You want to be next to. Sometimes it's just good to be around. And I know that sounds so pity-like to me. To a degree, it sounds so desperate to a degree, but you got to understand, like I said earlier, how you play the game. This is it. If everybody is looking at this person, I want to be next to this person in this aspect. I ain't no groupie now, but I want to be next to this person, or I want to be in the same spot as this person. So when they run their 40-yard dash, just for example, I can then run mine. See, now if they run a 4.23 and I run a 4.22, I don't know why I put out these blazing numbers. Like I could run a 4. I probably run a 5.22. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sub 5. I'll be sub 5. But the point is, if they run this blazing number and then I run this blazing number, or let's say that I run faster by half a second. Let's say that they're sub 4.5 and I'm sub 4.4, excuse me. Now we talking about a whole different conversation because my speed next to them speed is put right on display. It's right there. So I think that being able to be next to these prospects that people are already touting highly makes a lot of sense. Juan Cruz, Brody Popple, he has he led the Rattlers, 69 hits, 58 RBIs, 12 home runs. So he was really good at the plate, and he had the best on base percentage with the team as well. Excuse me. Juan Cruz is the one that I'm probably the most interested in. And I know that Thibodeau had a lot of acclaim coming out of the 2024-25 season. Excuse me. I knew that sneeze was in there somewhere. Thibodeau, he did everything he needed, right? He was SWAC player of the year, newcomer of the year, obviously, first team all SWAC. You know, he did a lot of things for him. He was great. He was great last year. But Cruz, to me, is somebody who has been on my radar for a couple of years, probably 2. Thibodeau, let's close him out. Thibodeau was second in the NCAA in hits per game. That's actually Cruz. Thibodeau was first in the country in slugging percentage, second in batting average. He was second in on base percentage. Like, he did a lot of things very well. And we're talking about where he ranked amongst people in the country. So that's not just amongst the SWAC. First in the country in slug percentage, second in batting average, second in on base percentage. So you're looking at a guy who, when he's at bat, has been extremely efficient. You see how he was able to become the SWAC player of the year. And if you just boil it down to the conference, you're looking at 73 runs scored, first in the conference, 71 RBIs, fifth in the conference, 18 home runs, that was second in the conference. So you see a guy who, once again, is exceptional at the plate. But Cruz is the one that's interesting to me because he's been on my radar the longest. I was aware of him last year when I was at the HBCU Swingman Classic. And then also, when you just look at what he's able to do and the fact that he is committed to Georgia. See, we're talking about being next to all of these talented players at the MLB Combine. And yeah, second in hits per game, fifth in total bases, These are things that he's done phenomenally while in the SWAC. Being next to some of these players is going to be great, but he's not next to them for just 3 days. He's going to be next to these guys for 3 games worth of a season. Series, he's talking about going, because he's at Georgia. Georgia versus LSU, Georgia versus Vanderbilt, Georgia versus Texas A&M. When you're talking about SEC baseball, elite action. Did you know that the SEC has the last 5 College World Series champions, and they're going for 6 right now as LSU faces Coastal Carolina? They're looking to make it 6 straight champions out of that conference. We talk about the domination that comes from the SEC in the, I say, early 2010s, late 2000s. We talk about that domination that came from the conference in football. They're on that similar type of stretch right now. It's so crazy that you go through the last four, basically everything since COVID. Since COVID, the SEC has had both of the College World Series representatives, kind of. One year, Oklahoma was there before they made it to the SEC, but now they're in the SEC. And if I'm talking about Juan Cruz and who he's going to have to go up against, Oklahoma is in that mix. So even if you want to take Oklahoma out, you're still looking at 5 straight champions, because Oklahoma did not win that year. 5 straight champions, and 3 out of the last 4 years, they've had the entire College World Series finals. This is Coastal Carolina is fighting for the pride of the NCAA right now. Okay, they are fighting for the pride of the NCAA because the SEC can't do it again. That's what they're thinking. But you'll go ahead and check out Matt Moscona, who's going to tell you why LSU could lose this game or could lose this series, why they could win this series, all of it. But anyway, it's not the point right now. The point is that Cruz is going there, and I'm very excited. If he's able to make a little bit of a name for himself here and then go to Georgia with a couple of more eyes on him, and then he goes to Georgia and he's still batting really well. Because mind you, this is a guy who was 2nd in the NCAA in hits per game, 5th in total bases. If he can stay in that upper echelon, we're going to be looking at Juan Cruz way differently when he leaves Georgia than they do this year as he's leaving Alabama State. That's part of the game. That should be my slogan of the day. Locked on HBCU is all part of the game. In the meantime, in between time, until next time that we hear each other, family, take care, stay blessed. Peace.